Today, I want to start off a short series on social media utilization in nonprofits. Before we dive into practices and platform specifics, I want to recognize that there's often great discussion about whether nonprofits should use social media at all, and if so, how. So let's talk about some of the biggest concerns I've heard from nonprofit leaders. Let's start with the known risks of participating in public forums that we don't have ownership of. Executives can be very concerned with maintaining the organization's positive reputation on social media. When we open ourselves up to these channels, there's a possibility that we can receive negative comments, or that people could post misinformation about us, or that we get pulled into controversies that can impact the public's perception of our nonprofit. Those are all risks we take to be present in these social spaces. In fact, we should assume that there will be negativity shared on our page or posted about us, and we should have a plan to evaluate how we will address it. Depending on the type of organization we run, we may have had to turn people away from services because they didn't qualify, or we didn't have the capacity to assist them. And social media channels offer those people that may have negative feelings a place to express them. On another level, if we're dealing with clinical care or treatment of individuals, we may see comments from followers or the public that share very personal medical details. We get to decide how to handle occasions like these, and we should make sure that we brainstorm the list of potential situations that could arise to plan ahead as much as possible. Beyond just angry or upset posters, social media crises can arise quickly and spread rapidly. Nonprofit executives are often concerned about being prepared to handle and respond to crises effectively, try to mitigate potential damage. Most small and medium-sized nonprofits do not have public relations experts on their full-time staff. And so crisis communication is often mishandled or handled with great intentions by staff members who are not necessarily trained as skilled crisis communicators. The likelihood of a true crisis breaking out is much lower than dealing with those angry keyboard warriors we just spoke about, but you do need to think about who you would turn to if you should ever need that expertise. Other risks that concern nonprofit executives are not solely social media based, but generalized in digital environments. In the case of keeping it legal, nonprofits have to adhere to regulations and guidelines when it comes to things like fundraising, data collection, and content dissemination. Executives are concerned about staying compliant with laws such as GDPR, HIPAA, and others on these less secure platforms. And since nonprofits handle sensitive information about their supporters and beneficiaries, clear guidelines need to be in place and followed. In today's environment, we're also seeing more hacking, more phishing attacks, and more fraud and fraudulent reporting, which could compromise the organization's social media accounts and potentially lead to identity theft, fraud, or lack of access to your profiles or channels. Using the enhanced security tools available on any platform at any particular time is really the best you can do. So even though it's a hassle, you'll want to set up that two-factor authentication. Outside of these real social and legal risks, nonprofit executives are often very concerned about investing financial resources in social media. This is all about ROI, and ROI is not quite as easy to measure on social media channels, especially if you're only posting organically and not tracking paid performance or pacing paid ads or building funnels. Executives want to ensure that the resources invested in social media yield tangible results and that they can share those results with confidence with donors and board members and other stakeholders. Measuring the impact and demonstrating the ROI of social media activities can be challenging, so you need to be clear about how you're obtaining analytics and turning your data into information that tells the story of your impact. These executives are often grappling with allocating limited resources, including time and budget, which can lead them to try to balance the need for a strong online presence with other organizational priorities. Sometimes this leads to organizations using volunteers or interns to run their social channels. While that might be fiscally responsible, it does come with other challenges. We have to ask if these individuals are adequately trained on best practices, privacy guidelines, and our organization's social media policies, and whether they can be consistent in content creation and distribution. And to make this all more challenging, social media platforms frequently update their algorithms, which means we need to be concerned about staying abreast of any changes and adjusting our strategies accordingly to maintain visibility. Algorithm changes almost always affect organic reach, and that is primarily what most nonprofit organizations are relying on. In addition to algorithm changes, social media platforms introduce new features regularly. Executives may be concerned about the organization's ability to adapt and effectively use these features to enhance their social media strategies. If paid staff are handling social, how much time is learning and relearning platform features and best practices really taking? If we have an intern or volunteer doing this, are they going to be able to stay on top of it all? Those are very real questions. In short, executives who do invest in social media want to see meaningful engagement with the organization's content and ensure that social media efforts contribute to the overall impact of the nonprofit's mission. And they want it to be done in a way that is safe, legal, and not resource intensive. Addressing those concerns means developing clear social media policies, investing in staff training, staying informed about industry trends, and regularly assessing your organization's social media strategy to ensure ongoing alignment with goals. Remember, social media is a very dynamic environment, and it is changing all the time and continually challenging us. It is very possible that the plans and policies you developed just 6 months or a year ago don't hold up today. So keep the lines of communication open with your leadership if you're the owner of your social media handles.